Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Frugalisama. My name's Sam and this is where I talk about all things sewing. Today I've got a quick tutorial for using your overlocker to give you a rolled hem. But first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for everyone who has subscribed so far. If this is the sort of video that you like, please consider subscribing, liking, commenting. All those sort of things help my videos get out there for other people to see. So today's tutorial came about whilst I was making this blouse. So this is the ruffle sleeve blouse by Dressy Talk. And it's a free pattern. You'll find I work with a lot of free patterns, not exclusively, but I do work with a lot of free patterns on this channel, hence the name Frugalisama. Try to show that sewing is accessible to everybody by sewing with either free patterns, giving hints and tips of sewing on a budget, and hints and tips to improve your sewing, whether you're a beginner sewer or whether you've been sewing for years. So today's video came about whilst I was sewing this blouse, and this required a rolled hem using a serger, which is something I've never done before. The serger or overlocker that I'm using today is the Singer 14SH754, and that is the serger or overlocker that's available at a discount, usually in Lidl in the UK. It's very similar to other Singers in that it's 4-thread overlocker, but I just like to put it out there that everybody's serger or overlocker is different, but there will be many features that are the same. So grab your manual and just check what it says if you haven't got this one, and just double check that yours operates the same way as mine does. So all that being said, all we're doing is converting a 4-thread overlocker or serger into a 2-thread overlocker or serger by using this little gadget that should have come with your machine. And you can see there it's just got a rounded edge there that slots into the looper, and this then slots behind the blade. It's that converts it from a 4-thread into a 2-thread. It's just a question then of playing with your tension dials and what have you. So the fabric that you see me working on is just a lightweight cotton. I'm actually sewing this version of the dress in the video, and it's just a very lightweight cotton, and you can see it just gives you a nice rolled hem effect without having to go to the trouble of using the rolled hem on your sewing machine. So that's a rolled hem foot on the sewing machine. Once you got the hang of converting your overlocker, it is actually quite a simple process, and I find it a lot less fiddly than using the sewing machine. Other than your converter, tweezers are always handy. But apart from that, there is no specialist equipment required for this tutorial. It is just working with what you've got. So I haven't used any special thread. Apparently you can use a woolly nylon thread, and that actually helps to fill the gaps in. And that would probably come in useful if I was working on something like this that frays a lot, but this was quite a stable cotton that I've been working on. And I think if you were using something like this that frays a lot, then you would need a stabiliser. So I don't go into that today. I'm just simply showing you how to convert your machine and how straightforward it is. So yeah, it could be used decoratively on hems like this ruffled sleeve here, children's clothes, if you're working on a silk scarf or something like that. What I recommend is that you practice. If you're going to be serging a straight edge, practice on a straight edge in the scrap material that you're using. And likewise, if you're going to be doing a curve, do it on a curve. That way you'll get a better idea of how the finished result's going to look. So you can call it a 2-thread rolled hem, or you can call it a narrow hem as well. I'm showing you both ways just by adjusting your tension discs on your machine. And if your machine is already thread, you can just turn down your tension dials down to 0, snip the threads that you're not using and pull those through, and then you don't need to thread your machine up neither. So that's just a little time saver for you. So just one thing that I didn't do in the tutorial, and that is remove the left needle that I wasn't using. Ideally, if you're using a fabric it's going to show the holes that the needle leaves behind, then ideally you would remove that left needle. I didn't because I was being lazy, but ideally you would do that. That's just a quick note. Okay, so the first thing to do is to pull back your cover of your machine so that it reveals the insides. Ideally it should be switched off, and turn your tension dials down to 0. And make sure your machine foot is up because you're going to be rethreading it. Just move your cutting blade out of the way so that you can get into your machine. To take this converter, so you can see on your converter here it's got a rounded bit which is going to go into this hole here, and then at the top of this metal bit here it has an arm that flips up ever so slightly. So just take your converter, it goes that way up, slot it into this hole here. There's a hole in this blade here, so you push that a little bit behind and it should just click into that hole. So that's your upper looper converted. So the next thing to do is to turn this dial here. So on this plate here there is an R, which is for rolled hem, and at the side there is a dial which you just keep turning until this bit of plastic is aligned with this R here. So you just keep turning that in that direction until it's at the R, and that's the cutting blade position. And then you need to bring this stitch width finger towards you, so you just pull it forward that way. So you just need to thread your lower looper and your right needle. So on this Singer machine that is the yellow dial and the green dial. So make sure that your tension is down to 0 and that your foot is up before you start threading. Bring it through the guide at the top. There is a little guide behind. So there's no special threading, it's just your normal threading. Bring it through the tension discs here. There's another guide here. So through this guide here, then you have another guide down here, one here, and another one there. Just click it up. So over this lower looper here until it gets caught in the guide at the back, and you're just going to thread through that looper eye there. Pull your thread to the back. This is where your tweezers come in handy, and underneath the foot. So you're just following the thread guide that's on your machine. For your right needle thread, you just need to bring it through the guide at the top. There's a little guide at the back that you bring it through. Through the tension disc here, underneath your guide here, and another one here, and then above the guide with the green dot here. And then thread your needle, which is actually easier with the foot down. So it just goes through this guide here. And then if you lift your foot and pull both threads under the foot and to the back. Like that. So at the side of the machine now, you just need to adjust this stitch width. F is for fine, and you want it somewhere between the fine and the 2. You don't need to do anything with your differential feed. You can leave that alone. Back to the front now, and if you just put your knife back in its original position, to the cutting position, put your cover back on, and now you just need to adjust your tension. So you're only dealing with yellow and the green dials. For the needle, you can see you've got a plus or a minus, and this middle one tells you where the position is. So that just needs to be at 0.5, so just before you get to the 1. And for your lower looper thread, that wants to be turned right up to 6. And that needs to be there. And then you can just leave those at 0. Ideally, you should be removing the needle that you're not using, so that's your left needle. Ideally, you should be removing that. I'm going to leave mine in today. And that's it, that's your machine all set up. So now all you need to do is just have a little play and just use the same sort of fabric, and if you're going to be sewing on a curve, then practice on a curve. So the 0.5 on the needle length will give you a 2-thread rolled hem. I'll just show you what that looks like first. With the setting at 0.5, you get the 2-thread hem, and that makes the looper, which is the threaded yellow, come to the top, and the needle goes to the bottom, like that. So I'm just going to adjust this needle dial now up to 4, and that should give you a rolled hem. And hopefully you can see there how that's rolled underneath. So you can see the green stitch in there, that's your needle, and then underneath on the other side. Just give you a nice rolled hem. Obviously I've done this in colour so that you can see what you're doing. You wouldn't see any of this stitching. It would just look like a nice neat rolled hem if it was all in white. I wanted to demonstrate what the different coloured threads did. So just play about with your tension, and it will be different with different fabrics. You just need to play about with your tension and your stitch width. We'll make the stitches closer together. Okay, so that's a tutorial finished. I hope that you found that useful. Please leave me a comment below if there's anything else that you want to add. You can actually shorten your stitches so there's less fabric that shows through. So this is the finished result on the one that I was working on. And I think that actually looks okay. Probably on the blue I could have shortened my stitch length a little bit there, and then these stitches would have gone closer together, but I'm quite happy with the result of that. I think it just gives a nice professional finish. If you've got any comments to add, just leave them below and I will take them on board. So that's it from me today. Thanks for watching. I shall speak to you later. Bye.